Welcome to the DX Today Expert Report. Today, we're diving into what is arguably the most significant technological shift the legal industry has seen since the digitization of case law. We are looking specifically at the transition from generative AI to agentic AI.
It is great to be here, Alex. And you are right, this is a massive pivot. We are moving from systems that just talk to you to systems that actually do the work for you.
That distinction is really the core of the report we are discussing today.
Before we get into the technical weeds, Mike, how do you fundamentally define that difference for our listeners? Think of it in terms of roles within a law firm. You give it a prompt, it gives you text. It is passive, it waits for you. It's designed to achieve a goal.
So instead of just asking it to write a paragraph, you're giving it a job.
Exactly. The agent then breaks that down into subtasks. It decides it needs to research case law, then check internal precedents, then draft the motion, and finally verify the citations. It does all of that autonomously.
It doesn't just write, it acts. That aligns with the market data we are seeing. Gartner has identified agentic AI as a top strategic trend. They are predicting that by the end of this year, 2026, at least 40% of enterprise applications will feature these task-specific agents. That is a huge jump from just 2 years ago.
It is a massive acceleration, and it's driven by the value of the tasks being automated. In the legal tech sector, we are seeing a shift from simple augmentation to true process automation.
Let's look at the history here briefly to give some context. We started with predictive coding back in the 2010s, which was really just machine learning for e-discovery.
Right, that was phase 1, high utility but very narrow. Then phase 2 was the LLM boom, generative AI. That gave us tools like Case Text's Co-Counsel and Harvey. They were great at summarizing depositions, but they had a bottleneck, the human in the loop. The lawyer had to prompt every single step.
And now we are in phase 3.
Phase 3 is Agentic AI. This is where we integrate ReAct architectures. That stands for Reason plus Act. This allows the software to think before it executes. We are seeing this in tools like Relativity AI and Ironclad's agent network.
I want to double-click on that thinking aspect. The report includes a technical deep dive into the legal brain of these agents. How does an AI actually reason like a lawyer?
It uses a framework called ReAct. It's fundamentally different from a chatbot that just predicts the next word. When you ask an agent a question, it enters a loop.
And then it takes action.
Precisely. That is the act phase.
It calls a tool. Maybe it searches Westlaw or Lexis. Then comes the observation phase. It loops through this chain of thought reasoning until it solves the problem. That sounds incredibly sophisticated. The report also mentions multi-agent systems. Is that just more of the same, or is it different?
It is the next level up. In a multi-agent system, or MAS, you have specialized agents collaborating. You might have a researcher agent that finds the law, a writer agent that drafts the memo, and a critic agent that reviews the work.
So the critic agent acts like a partner reviewing an associate's work.
Exactly. The critic agent looks for logical fallacies or hallucinated citations. It forces the other agents to self-correct before a human ever sees the draft.
That brings us to the real-world application. We have seen some impressive case studies in this report. Allen and Overy, now A&O Shearman, seems to be a frontrunner here.
They really are. They were the first major firm to deploy Harvey enterprise-wide. They built a custom tool called Contract Matrix.
They have over 3,500 lawyers using it, generating tens of thousands of queries. The headline stat there is efficiency. They are reporting 30% time savings on contract review tasks.
That is significant when you look at billable hours. But it's not just big law contracts, right? What about litigation?
That is where Relativity comes in with their AIR platform. In litigation, you often have to review thousands of documents to find the facts. Relativity's agents automate that fact-finding phase.
70% is game-changing.
It is. And unlike a keyword search, the agent builds a narrative. It links facts across emails and Slack messages autonomously to tell you the story of what happened.
We also have Ironclad on the corporate side. They are using agents for contract lifecycle management.
Ironclad is fascinating because they split the agents up.
They have an intake agent that just extracts data and a redlining agent that actually suggests edits based on company playbooks.
It effectively triages the low-risk contracts, so the human lawyers only have to deal with the complex negotiations.
With all this efficiency, though, we have to talk about the risks. The report highlights some serious concerns regarding liability and the black box problem.
This is the critical friction point. If an agent misses a precedent or hallucinates a clause, who is responsible?
The ABA and the California Bar Association have been very clear on this. Their guidance states that lawyers cannot delegate professional judgment.
So the agent's output is legally treated as a draft?
Always, the human lawyer is fully responsible for the final product. You cannot blame the AI if you file a motion with a fake case.
There is also the issue of the unauthorized practice of law, or UPL.
That is a very blurry line right now. If a non-lawyer uses an autonomous agent to draft a will or a contract, is the software practicing law? State bars are debating this vigorously. We don't have a clear answer yet, but the regulatory scrutiny is increasing.
And speaking of regulation, we have the EU AI Act.
Yes, that means if you're deploying these agents in Europe or for European clients, you need rigorous conformity assessments, transparency logs, and human oversight.
It sounds like the human in the loop isn't just a good idea, it's a regulatory requirement.
Absolutely. It is also a client requirement. Privacy is the other massive risk. You need zero retention policies.
If an agent learns from client A's data to help client B, you have breached attorney-client privilege. Enterprise agreements with providers like Microsoft and OpenAI now standardly include no training clauses to prevent exactly that. So where is this all heading? The report looks out to 2030. What is the forecast? Gartner predicts that adoption will hit a tipping point where these agents handle the majority of routine work. This is going to trigger a crisis for the billable hour model. Because if the agent does 10 hours of research in 10 minutes, you can't bill for the 10 hours anymore.
Exactly. The revenue model breaks. Firms will have to shift to value-based billing or flat fee structures for agent-driven tasks. The value isn't in the time anymore. It's in the strategy and the judgment.
For the firms listening, the report offers some strategic recommendations. Where should they start?
The first step is data hygiene. Agents are only as good as the data they access. If your document management system is a mess, the agent will fail.
And regarding the workforce?
You need to invest in prompt engineering training. Lawyers need to learn how to instruct these agents. It's becoming a core competency, just like legal research. And finally, you have to audit. You need to disclose AI use to clients and regularly audit the agents for bias.
It seems the conclusion here is that agentic AI fulfills the promise that generative AI made but couldn't quite keep.
That is the perfect way to put it. It's the ability to do work, not just describe it.
The firms that succeed won't view agents as replacements, but as force multipliers. But that demands rigorous governance.
The verdict is in. The agent era has begun. Mike, thank you for walking us through this report.
My pleasure, Alex.
And thank you for listening to the DX Today Expert Report. We'll catch you next time.